to another video. Today we're going to be talking about this book, Beautiful Death by Fiona McIntosh. My husband bought me my own copy because from that first chapter, oh my god, I was hooked. And I've now read up to chapter 8, so I've read 6 more chapters. And as you can see, I have done quite a lot of annotating. So, I've got some different annotations in here. I've also got my notes for the review so that I don't forget what I'm talking about. So this yellow tab up here is for the dedication. So I'm going to have a couple of notebooks, and I'm going to have one for bits of the book that I really enjoy, because I have a thing, like, I see everyone like annotating and highlighting and marking things in books, and I don't know, it's just an ick for me. That's just my opinion. I mean, if you guys are more than happy to do that, then go for it, all the power to you. It's just not my thing. So I would rather use different colored tabs and then handwrite them in another notebook. So this yellow one up here, dedication. Blue is the ones that I want to talk about, the bits that I'm going to talk about in my videos. And then the pink is going to be for the books that I'm going to, the book parts that I'm going to write in my notebooks. I did run out of blue tabs, so a couple of these are green, but I have ordered some more off Temu. So Temu is amazing. There's a lot of bookish themed things on there. I've gotten a couple of bookmark holders, I've got heaps of bookmarks, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that I want to get for my new reading nook that my husband is going to build me, and it's going to be so amazing. I'm really excited. So that will be in the new year, so stay tuned for that. But let's get into it. Beautiful Death, chapters 2 through 7. Notebook time. So, alright. So, when I first started with chapter 2, I definitely was not expecting a steamy scene straight off the bat. I was just like, okay, not something that I was expecting, and definitely not so soon in a book like this. So pretty much where we left off with chapter 1, John Sherman had been on the walk with his dog. The dog found the severed hand that he dug up, and the last line in the chapter read, John Sherman was impressed, although he finally lost the fight to retain his lunch. So obviously he's a bit squeamish when it comes to body parts and things like that, so he's obviously just puked. The next thing you know, you get into chapter 2, and it goes, he touched his mouth to the flawless skin of her back, gently tracing the curve of her shoulder blade, reveling in the velvety feel of her against the sensitivity of his lips. And it's like, okay, we've just gone from finding a severed hand with a dog, and then the story's gone completely left, and now we've got a steamy scene. So that was sort of like a bit of a eye-opener for me. Not in a bad way, mind, but yeah, it was just sort of not what I was expecting straight off the bat. But anyways, as I got further into the scene, it wasn't even an explicitly written scene. It was just like, you could tell that it was steamy. Then next thing you know, you read that it is Jack Hawksworth in the steamy scene, who is the main character of this book, DCI Jack Hawksworth. And I was like, okay, so he's obviously, you know, got a wife or a girlfriend, whatever, fiance. So, you know, as you do. So that was quite nice to read, that he's got that sort of, you know, relationship to sort of come home to. Then we get on to a little bit further down in chapter 2, and he's talking to an old police friend. What's his name? I know his last name's Sharp, but what's his first name? Martin. So Martin Sharp is another police officer character. He's an older guy as well. Like, he even specifies his age in this. It says I'm 61. He's a sarcastic prick, but he's so funny, and he seems like a really, really nice guy as well, and just, you know, wants to find this killer who's mutilating these bodies, essentially. There are quite grisly details, which me personally I like, because again, big horror, true crime junkie, things like that. But yeah, I just like the sarcasm of him, of Sharp. There's even a bit between him and Jack where Jack says, I think you're getting grouchier by the year, Martin. And then Martin goes, I'm allowed to, I'm 61. And it's like, yeah, okay, you grumpy old man. Another thing that I found was interesting with the COD and the extreme mutilation, it says when they're talking about the victims, it says one had different coloured eyes, can you believe? But even that description has got us no further. And I was looking into it because heterochromia is not all that common in people. I did a bit of research into the population with heterochromia in the UK, which is where this book is based in the UK. And the research that I came up with was less than 1% of the population. So I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't that just be like a really, really key clue on, you know, the identification of this person, essentially? Because, you know, in like crime shows that I've watched, fictional crime shows, mind, and like even some of the true crime documentaries, a lot of times when victims are so severely mutilated, they often have to use dental DNA to try and find out who the person is. But I was thinking, like, wouldn't heterochromia be a really key clue to who that person is, so that you can, you know, contact the family, try and find clues to the killer, sort of thing. So yeah, that sort of bugged me a little bit reading that, because it's like, that's a really key clue, like, you know. And then we get a bit further into the book and we learn about Jack's girlfriend, Lily. And she is a florist. She works in a flower shop with her mum, and she goes out on all the deliveries, and she does a lot to the hospitals. So, and I'm reading about her, and I'm reading what she's doing and how she's speaking to people, and she just seems like a really, really sweet character. But then we get a bit further, and she is approached by Namzul, who we met in the first chapter, and he is in this like donor scheme. And then it got me thinking, oh, maybe he's the killer. and then it's like Lily's being like all friendly with him and she knows him well, and I'm thinking, oh my god, is Jack's girlfriend, in on all these murders and, all that sort of stuff. So that was sort of like, I'm sitting there reading this book like going, what is going on? And I literally turned into like Sheldon Cooper, like you're reading the book. Why? Why? Oh, that's why. Know what I mean? So it does get you like really invested in this book. Like, why is this happening? What is going on? And it just makes you want to read it more and more and more and more. So yeah, that was interesting. So, but then you get a bit further on and it turns out that she is not in the leagues with the killer. There is another guy. I can't remember if he was mentioned in the first chapter. No, he was not. So there's another character that's come along while Lily's speaking with Namzul, and he's another sort of, shrewd businessman, and it seems like he's heavily involved in this donor scheme as well. But the way that he's talking about the victims, it's like disgraceful. Like, there's a bit in the book here where it says, I know they're your countrymen, so forgive my candor, but these are not the kind of citizens any country wants. These are illegal immigrants with no social standing in either their home country or their adopted one. They are poverty-stricken, the homeless, the ones who keep bringing their children into poverty, and so the cycle continues. No one will miss them, no one cares. And it's like, actually, dickhead, somebody would care about them because they would have family. They would have people that care about them. So it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So then you think, okay, maybe this guy could be the killer. But he's not the killer. So I'm not very good at picking who killers are in crime books because I'll guess and then I'll be completely wrong. Like, I was guessing Namzul was, and then it turns out that he's not. I was guessing that this Moshi guy is, turns out he's not. So the killer is still, at this point, completely anonymous. So, very, very interesting book. And I was also thinking, like, you can't give up a killer super, super early in the first couple of chapters because that would just completely wreck the point of a book. So, there's that. What else is on my list? Oh yeah, there was a scene where is it? Just gotta find it. Okay, so it's a little bit later on, so I will get to that bit in a little while. But there is another bit that I was thinking about, and Namzul and Moshi are meeting over like coffee and like, a couple of like little meals and stuff. And yeah, it's interesting. And then like, you know, they're in a building and it's talking about, where is it? Not that one. Nope, I've talked about that. That's fine. If you guys remember from my last video with the Give Me a Sign review, I always take out the blue tabs once I finished talking about that point. Okay, so Lily's gone to meet up with this guy Namzul, and again you're sort of thinking, okay, she's got to be in on it. She's got to be in on this whole, you know, underground donor scheme. But then she enters the building and it says, the fragrance of various curries wafted from the restaurant and reminded her it was almost lunchtime. She wasn't fond of spicy North Indian food, but she had eaten breakfast just before 3 o'clock and it was nearly noon. Suddenly, naan bread and the thick, rich gravy of a chicken curry seemed appetizing. And I'm just thinking to myself, oh, I love a good butter chicken and like cheese naan bread. And there's like a curry place in my local shopping centre, and they do a really, really nice butter chicken and cheesy naan bread, and I'm just like, oh, yum. So she's smelling all the scents of all these curries. Next thing you know, she's ambushed, and it says, gone was the fragrance of cooking, and in its place was the overpowering smell of chemicals, and suddenly she was inhaling it directly from an old t-shirt. So straight away I'm like, aha, she's getting chloroformed. So yeah, and then that got me thinking, she's getting kidnapped, she's in trouble, and she is probably going to die. I know that's like a really morbid thing to think about, but when you think about it, especially in the early stages of crime books, like this is now the 3rd chapter that I'm now up to with these markers. It's like, yeah, she's getting captured and she's probably going to get killed. It even says that they threw like her phone out of the window and it's like broken, so no one can contact her. And yeah, it's sort of pretty obvious that she might not make it through this chapter. So that's going to be really interesting. And then they get further into the chapter. Jack's talking about getting a team together because now Lily's gone missing, and it's been reported that she's missing, maybe. So then we get to chapter 4, and after like having a chat with Sharp in chapter 2, they want Jack on this case to find out who this killer and mutilator is, and he's thinking about the people that he wants in his team, or the cops that he knows, and he finds this girl called, what's her name? Kate. So she is a detective inspector. And I'm sort of thinking to myself as I'm reading this chapter, oh, maybe her and Jack might get together, or they might have some history between them. Because at the end of like the first little bit of chapter 4, it said she also made some inquiries about interpreters and came up with someone she felt would suit Jack's needs. Rather than call him, she texted him the details. This operation, she promised herself, she would be entirely professional. So it's like, okay, maybe, you know, they've had a history together where they were in a relationship or having a fling or whatever in the past, or maybe, you know, she's got feelings for him, and then maybe later on down the track, you know, he could be sort of fighting feelings for her, and at this stage we don't know. So it's all sort of up in the air as to that sort of, I guess, trope, you know. So earlier I was talking about Lily smelling all the scents of the different curries and things wafting from this restaurant. And then I was like, oh, where's the part where Numzul and Moshi were, you know, sharing a coffee and a little meal together? Now I found it. So, Moshi's having a cream cheese and smoked salmon bagel. And when I was down in Melbourne a few years ago with my husband and one of our best friends, she took us to a really nice little, like, sort of hole in the wall round the corner bagel shop, and oh my god, was the bagels good. I can't even remember the name of the shop, but it was just beautiful. I had a bacon and egg one, and then I think my husband and our best friend had like cream cheese bagels, but they were really good bagels. So then reading that bit about the cream cheese and smoked salmon bagel, I'm just like, oh, that bagel shop was so good. And then Namzul ordered a salt beef sandwich, and the only time I've ever heard about salt beef was in one of my favourite movies, The Killer's Game, where the main character Joe goes to his boss's house and his wife's all like, oh, you know, do you want something to drink? Do you want something to eat? I've made salt beef. And he goes, oh, I love salt beef. And I'm thinking, what the hell is this salt beef that everyone's talking about? So I did a bit of research on that as well. And it's salt cured beef brisket. And then it's like, oh, yum, beef brisket. One of our friends makes a mean beef brisket, and it is so tender and delicious. Yum. But I digress. This channel is not supposed to be talking about food. It's supposed to be talking about books. But here we are, talking about food. So there's that. So Jack's now trying to get a hold of Lily and find out where she is. So Jack's trying to get a hold of Lily and find out where she is, and you know, she's not answering her phone because, as we spoke about a little while ago, her phone got chucked out the window of a car. So that's out. And then it's like, you know, she's been kidnapped. She is probably either dead or very close to death at this point. And then it says, like, he's leaving her a message and he says, it's me, I've called a few times, going out for a run, but I'll have my phone with me, call me. And then it says, he frowned, that was odd. And I'm reading it, I'm like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Like, oh, your girlfriend's not picking up her phone. I wonder why. Maybe because not long ago she got kidnapped. But obviously, you know, he doesn't know that at this point. But us as readers, we know that. And we're just listening and we're reading and we're just like, are you stupid? Like, come on. Like, do you guys ever find yourself yelling at characters in books just because, you know, they're doing stupid shit? So, there's that. Then it goes on a little bit more, and he goes, he sighed, pulled on his runners, grabbed his keys, thought about taking his iPod. I'm like, iPod? How freaking old is this book? And then there's always a part in a book sort of near the front with all the publisher details on it, and that will generally be where you find the year the book was published, and it was published in 2009. So I'm like, yeah, okay, late sort of 2000s, just before the 2010s hit. Yeah, iPods were still around then, so yeah, I'm old enough to remember when the first iPods came out. So yeah, it was really sort of like, am I really that old? And especially because I went into it thinking like this book was only sort of, you know, a few years ago, maybe, you know, the late 2010s, early 2020s, because we're now 2026, so we're nearly in the 2030s, and I'm thinking, have we really like gone through that much? Like, come on. But anyway, so we talked about the salt beef, we talked about how it was odd. There was now a part in the book where, yeah, spoiler alert, Lily's dead. So yeah, I sort of was like 97% sure, given the description of the kidnapping and stuff, that she was probably going to die. So yeah. Then we get into chapter 5, and you know, Jack's gone to the florist, he's calling it, there's no answer. And it says Lily and her mother worked from the early hours to buy and prepare the flowers for the day's trading. Perhaps Lily's silence meant there was something going down in the family. There was no other reason the shop would be closed. So it's sort of like, dude, your girlfriend's not picking up because she's dead. But he talks to her younger sister, and it's sort of got me thinking, you know, if the mum's not answering either, maybe something's happened to the mum. The younger sister tells Jack that Lily's missing, but then it says, the sister says, we haven't seen her since yesterday, my parents are with the police now. So it's like, okay, so the mum's not dead, the dad's not dead, you know, everything's sort of gotten sorted there. So yeah, there was that. Then we get to chapter 7, and it's a little bit of an odd chapter because it's got a lot of beginnings of a criminal investigation where they're with the ME, they're developing all the crime scene photos, they're identifying the victim. Straight away, Jack knows that it's Lily because he sees a birthmark on her shoulder that is easily identifiable. So yeah, it's sort of a real gut punch for him to find out that way, and especially the grisly ways that her remains are in. It does paint a very, very graphic picture of what has happened in this book to Lily and indeed the other victims as well. But then, about halfway through chapter 7, now they're like filming some reality TV makeover show, and they're talking about someone called Stony. And usually, again, this is a bit biased, but usually usually people with that sort of nickname end up being men or transgender men. But then it says next to the glamorous Samantha Stony Stone, and it's like, oh, okay, so Stony's a woman. They've been talking about a woman this whole time, so that breaks through those sort of biases, even though I sort of thought to myself, okay, Stony's a bloke sort of thing. But yeah, so then they're going through, and basically the premise of this TV show, this makeover show, is to take sort of middle-aged women, get people to guess how old they look, and then give them a makeover, and you know, the usual stuff. And she is 47, I think. 48 next birthday, which is in about 3 weeks. So they're going around, and the average answer that is being given is like in her 50s. And then, like, when I read and I think about descriptions, I get like a picture painted in my head, and all I can think about with painting a picture of this 48-year-old woman, I'm just getting the portrayal of the way that Patricia Arquette portrayed Dee Dee Blanchard in The Act. Sort of that wispy, graying, hair really quiet sort of thing. And yeah, it pretty much finishes with that makeover show. And then I get to the end of the chapter, the very last half page, and I found my trigger, and it disgusts me. Let me read you the last paragraph, and you guys will be able to hopefully pick up straight away what my trigger is. Here we go. A dark, wide-eyed boy followed them in. He looked no more than 14. The man didn't care how old he was, although Claudia assured him he was old enough. Hello again. The boy nodded, but said nothing as he stood awkwardly at the kitchen bench, watching the women grab glasses and pour neat, 100% proof vodka bought from St. Petersburg into glasses. Want one? The man asked. The boy shook his head. Okay, how about a Coke? This time the boy nodded. The man turned and winked at Claudia. She knew how to cover the taste of alcohol with the sugary cola. Come with me, the man said as he left the girls to enjoy their drinks. Do you like Xbox? The boy's eyes widened with surprise. Yes? Okay, knock yourself out. I like Halo. Lots of killing, but you can please yourself. There's a bottle of Coke. Enjoy it while the girls and I enjoy each other. And later, if you want, I can show you some other games. The innuendo was lost on the youngster as he immediately began firing up the games console, barely listening to his host. It didn't matter. In an hour, the boy would be fully compliant and he could have his fun. Until then, the girls would occupy themselves fulfilling his needs over and over again. Ugh, that's just giving me the ick reading that bit again. Ugh. So, that, yep, that is everything covered from my list. So now all I have left in the book now is one yellow tab for the dedication and the pink tabs for the bits that I like in the book and want to put in the notebook. But I want to say again, thank you guys so much for joining me and for all the support you've given my YouTube channel and my Instagram page. It's just been a phenomenal experience so far. You guys have all been amazing and wonderful. So yeah, next up I'll probably read a bit more of Give Me a Sign and see where that book's gonna go. So yeah, I've also got a few videos planned for the Kids Club channel for some awareness days and weeks that are coming up, so keep an eye out for those. I'll post on my Instagram when those videos are uploaded. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe, and follow my Instagram for updates on when I post videos, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.